am Prishni Mugrum from Mauritius, and since my early days of school, I have developed a very keen interest in economics. So, over the years, this interest turned into a passion which led me to do a degree in economics and finance at the University of Mauritius and a master degrees in economics with financial management at the Middlesex University in the UK. So when I came back, I joined a company as a team leader, and after a few years, I joined the Competition Commission in 2010 when it's just established. To quench my thirst about the limited knowledge that I had about the subject, I then decided to pursue further studies to conduct a PhD in economics at the University of East Anglia in the UK. So my career in competition regulated started when I joined the Competition Commission in 2010 when it's just established. So at that time, competition policy and law was a new subject and people were not aware about what this law entailed. It was new for me also. So when I joined the Competition Commission, we were given extensive training from experts coming from a different part of the world. I had also had the opportunity to go on secondment to the Competition Commission of South Africa for 2 months. My limited knowledge on the subject matter made me want to learn more about the different theories and the application of these theories to real life cases. So this led me to embark for a PhD at the University of East Anglia in 2012. So while at the UK, I also had the opportunity to work at the Office of Fair Trading, now the CMA, for a few weeks. My initial topic of interest was about competition and small economies, with Mauritius itself being a small economy. But due to the limited data available for small economies, I had no choice than to broaden my topics of interest and concentrate on how successful competition authorities around the world were in enforcing the competition law. But I have to say, I always had Africa to my heart and always wanted to make a contribution to the continent. So now, as and when I have time, I try to do some research related to the African continent in my own spare time. So it is important to assess how well a competition authority is doing so as to enable the latter to identify its weakness and to develop appropriate institutional and legal framework to progress to ultimately achieve the aim of competition policy and law, which is to maximize consumer welfare. So it is important before assessing the performance of competition authority to understand what is the objective of a competition authority and what the institution seeks to achieve. So the cross-country comparison approach involves a systematic evaluation and benchmarking of competition authorities' effectiveness across different jurisdictions. So this method will help in the identification of best practices to uncover challenges and to promote policy learning among competition authorities. So the steps to be involved in adopting the cross-country approach would first be the identification and definition of key performance indicators. So we have to make sure that when selecting these indicators, they are measurable and comparable. The second step would be to determine the methodology to be used so as to ensure that the data is being collected in a standard manner so as to ensure fair comparison. Next, it would involve the grouping of countries based on the competition law maturity, economic development, or regional blocks. So once all the three step is done, then the next step would involve the identification of strengths and gaps of competition enforcement of these authorities. This will finally lead to the recommendation for improvement. It is important to collect the key indicators to ensure the objectivity and comparability of these data. A well-defined set of indicators will ensure that assessment is based on a quantifiable data rather than subjective opinions. So this is important to bring in a harmonious approach so as to strengthen competition law enforcement. So the mandate of competition authorities consists of detecting and deterring anti-competitive practices that are both measurable and unmeasurable objectives. So while it can be straightforward to measure the number of cases or successful cases carried out by a competition authority, but how do we go along with measuring the number of anti-competitive conducts which have been deterred? For example, how can one record two competitors who decide to fix price but then later decide not to go ahead because of the high fines that they will be liable to pay if they are caught? So does it mean even though we cannot record these types of conducts, does it mean that the competition authority is not doing his job? On the other hand, if we use count data, which data should be used? The number of cases launched, the number of cases closed, the number of successful cases? If yes, how would we define successful cases? And in cases where parties offer undertakings, how do we account for it? So these are the challenges that one will have to face using a standard approach for assessing the performance of competition authority. Well, there already seems to be good coordination among some of the African competition authorities, but of course there is room for improvement. I believe that coordination across competition authorities can be enhanced first by the strengthening of regional cooperation frameworks through the establishment of MOUs, which can be used for information sharing or joint investigation carried out across competition authorities. Secondly, it can be enhanced through the improvement of information sharing and capacity building. For example, we could create a regional database where competition authorities can exchange case precedences or enforcement strategies in relation to cases. In relation to the second part of the question, regional competition authorities can play a vital role in creating a consistent and credible methodology for the evaluation of performance of competition authorities. This can be done firstly through the establishment of a standard set of key performance indicators. It can also be done, maybe why not create a centralized monitoring evaluation system, that is the setting up of a regional assessment framework where competition authorities report performance data periodically. Regional competition authorities can also assist in the conduct of peer reviews to assess progress and also provide constructive feedback. So, by improving coordination and development of standardized performance assessment methodology, African competition authorities can enhance their effectiveness, strengthen regional market integration so as to promote fair competition across the continent.